It's great now. It's good. It is fixated. Hi, guys.
Hey.
Welcome. We are coming to you live from Newegg Studios in Southern California. This is Newegg Now. I love that we started with are we live? We're live? Yeah, we're good.
Doing it live?
We're good?
We're doing it
We're
live.
here.
Awesome.
Welcome, everyone.
So I'm Juan Carlos Bagnell.
I'm Trisha Hirschberger.
Just to introduce, to begin at the beginning, welcome back. It's been a while. So if you've been tuning in, we've been doing live streams over the past few weeks. So thank you if you're joining us from one of those previous live streams. And if this is your first experience with the Newegg Now, welcome aboard. I think we're going to have a lot of fun.
So Newegg Now is a live show where we talk about the latest and coolest stuff in the gaming and hardware world. And we welcome special guest experts and industry folks into the studio to share their wisdom with all of you. So it's like the live streams we were doing before, but a little bit upgraded, if you will.
Yeah, again, it's a fun word to use for Newegg. We're going to upgrade some of the things that we've been doing before. Yeah. So we're going to be coming with the proper Newegg Now once a month. So do the subscribe, follow, smashing bell icons.
We are live in so many different places right now that all of the things. Do all of those things that let you know when we're here again.
All the things. But, alerts and notifications for Newegg on YouTube and Facebook. You can come join us on all of the future episodes, the future fun we're going to have, and join those conversations too, because we really want this to be interactive.
Yeah, so like we were saying, you might be watching along currently on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, a lot on Newegg proper. But we always try to redirect you to newegg.com/NeweggNow because that's where you can watch us, chat along, and let us know what you think about today's topics. Plus, you'll be able to actually find the specific products and deals that we're going to talk about on the show. So make sure that you click the banner at the bottom of that page to see a bunch of deals.
A bunch of deals, and we've got some great stuff for you today. We'll be highlighting a little later on, including what many consider to be the best gaming mouse money can buy.
That's a tall order, but I do like this mouse.
Controversial. But it is a really good mouse. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today.
All right, so today's show is all about the greatness of PC gaming and why you and all your friends should obviously be playing all your games on PC. We're not biased at all here at Newegg.
Not even a little bit.
On that theme, we're going to be previewing the Newegg CLG Fortnite Challenge, which is a special event going on next week at Madison Square Garden's Hulu Theater in New York City. All at that event on April 24th, the esports superstars of CounterLogic Gaming's Fortnite team will be playing together with Kevin Knox from the New York
Hilarious!
Knicks.
I love it.
And since he's typically a console player, they're going to be trying to show him what the PC platform has to offer.
I just think it's cute. They're gonna he's gonna play on a PC. They're gonna hand him a controller to play top level Fortnite
On a PC.
It's gonna be great.
I mean,
it's gonna be great. No, it's going to be a lot of fun. So we're going to have a lot more about that event later on in the show. First, we want to check in with the Newegg audience out there about one of the hottest topics in the gaming world right now.
Oh boy.
Well, and I love this because it's kind of a philosophical discussion, difficulty. The subject of challenging games has been all over the place lately, centering around Sekiro Shadows Die Twice from Software.
Yeah. So we've seen lots of people offering their thoughts on what makes a game challenging and whether games like Sekiro should offer a new sort of difficulty or if they're just returning to the kind of Nintendo hard games that a lot of us grew up playing. And we've got eyes on the chat, so make sure that you sound off and let us know what you think. What is your hardest game ever?
So all that difficulty discussion inspired the recent poll question that we put on Newegg's Twitter, which asked, which was the harder game? Dark Souls or Battletoads?
Of course, you have Dark Souls. Well, I agree with you, but we'll get to the...
Oh, no, I was just going to say fight, like the two games fighting each other.
I actually am a hard Battletoads supporter in this race, but we'll get to the results later. But let me present to you as an option Dark Souls, probably the most famous example of difficult but still mainstream games.
Totally.
From Software games are infamous for punishing difficulty and games that force you to learn things the hard way, basically by dying a lot. Lots and lots of death.
And lots of dying. And then there's Battletoads. I like that they sent that one for me to talk about.
That's okay, go for it.
Originally released for the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1991. And it was hard.
Yes.
One-hit kills, limited continues, and game overs that sent you all the way back to the beginning of the game. I felt like that poll, I mean, again, in the PC gaming sphere and then generationally, people who came up with Nintendos.
Yes.
I wasn't too surprised by the results on this.
I was not either, and again, there may be some nostalgia bias there, but
Totally.
that turbo tunnel level, come on.
I was such crap.
So in the Newegg
It's so
Twitter
cheap.
poll, 62% said Battletoads was harder, and 38% said that Dark Souls was harder. And I agree. I think that this might be more of a generational
Absolutely.
nostalgia thing for a lot of people in our audience. At least I would say that that definitely would have played a part in what I chose.
Oh, totally. Because I feel like even modern platforming has adopted more of a live, die, repeat, get you back in as quickly as possible.
Yes.
Like you can do a boss rush, LFA reviews on YouTube talking about Cuphead.
Cuphead!
Super hard, but the game cycles you back into that same boss fight. Whereas Battletoads 3 continues, and you have to go all the way back to the beginning. And so I've been recently, I burned through Ape Out. And Ape Out is a very quick twitch, procedurally generated map. Everything's going to be fresh. It never lets you settle. It's panic-inducing, but it cycles you. It's not like if I die 3 times on this one building, I have to go all the way back to the first lab.
But depending what the learning curve is, like I would say Celeste, which I played through very recently, has a really, I think, well-paced learning curve that even though it's very challenging and very punishing in some parts, the more you do it, you will eventually learn exactly what you need to do to get through that section of the game. I see we have a lot of comments on Twitter. The only way I was actually able to beat Battletoads was with a Game Genie, says, it looks like Featherhoof from Twitter. They continue, I was totally able to beat Dark Souls without cheats or assistance. So, I mean, that's a good comparison.
Well, isn't the rumor that Battletoads was so hard to throw like a thumb in the eye of the rental market?
So, yes,
someone
said that an article on Nerdist theorized that.
Okay. Well, then, I just sort of preempted that amazing comment from our chat. Sorry.
Some people say that Dark Souls might be a more fun kind of difficulty for more people, maybe.
Totally agree.
Yeah, like it's
well, and so I mean, this ties back into Sekiro too. Is like there is a specific mechanic of difficulty that, if done correctly, makes the game a challenge in a really fun way.
Yes.
I think one of the things that's challenging is, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Okay.
People still want to experience that, but maybe there are some other concerns. Like maybe there should be an accessibility mode for gamers that can't Twitch game like that to share that experience with other people. And I understand where some people feel like that might cheapen the experience, but not everyone's going to be down for the same level of grind.
So I just had a very contentious on-camera argument with someone about this on a live stream I did on Tuesday, where both sides of this argument were presented. There are definitely people who feel like it cheapens what the game is. If the game is meant to have punishing difficulty, to then offer an option where it's less punishing, that kind of ruins what the game is, and that it cheapens anyone who did then complete it, their success of completing it.
Totally.
Versus the accessibility argument saying that we should be able to have as many people experience video games as possible in a world where we're saying video games are an art form. Let's make it accessible to more people. And I'll go back again to Celeste. I kind of lie in the middle. I do think that there are some games that their artistic genius is in the fact of how difficult they are. But I don't think offering an option in any way cheapens the overall game. Like Celeste has a menu in the beginning that says, this is the way the game is meant to be experienced. It is intentionally difficult. However, if you're having a lot of trouble and you need to turn on these accessibility options, they are here and available for you. But again, as a reminder, this is how it's meant to be experienced.
I feel like that's the right answer.
Right. I don't feel like me saying like, oh man, I beat Celeste with no accessibility options. I don't feel like that cheapens the success that I had because that option was there. In the same way that I don't feel like it, you know, back in the day, say when Myst first came out, and I was really proud of myself for beating it with no walkthroughs. The fact that there were walkthroughs available, I don't think cheapened the fact that I beat it without a walkthrough. You know what I mean? But that's my own opinion, and I know that this is very contentious. Like I said, the show I was on this past Tuesday, this was an argument that could have gone on forever, and people were ready to die on the mountains that they were on as far as the side they stood on. So I totally get it.
I get it. But I also feel like I want gaming to be that sort of inclusive shared experience. And if someone literally can't pick up a controller to twitch and grind in the same way, then I want to say, like, I still want them to know. I still want them to experience
Sure,
that,
and another game that did it really well, actually, is Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Yes.
Because you could adjust the puzzle difficulty as well as the combat difficulty, and you could adjust them differently. So it wasn't just everything's easy, everything's challenging. It was, please adjust this to the play style that suits you best, which was cool.
I was the training wheels guy. I wanted all of the puzzles as hard as possible, but then all of the combat as easy as possible because I wanted to get through.
I didn't do those exact extremes, but I definitely did scale the puzzles all the way up and the combat down a little. So we're the same type of player.
Starry on X on Twitch saying, anyone remember Silver Surfer for the NES? And we're talking about hard games, not games that are broken.
Well, and that's when people say NES hard, you have to realize that a lot of those games were hard because of design challenges or sometimes poor translation.
Because I'd also say the Back to the Future games were the same. Like, this game is completely
Did you ever play Who Framed Roger Rabbit on NES? That game was so hard. So yes, contrast that to Battletoads. If you played 2 players on Battletoads, you could accidentally damage each other. Friendly fire in a side scroller beat 'em up, like just
with single hit kills.
Like, come on, really?
That's so rough.
Come on, really? So speaking of challenges, Juan, you had a chance to do a couple of interviews about that Fortnite challenge event coming up, didn't you?
This is really great. We spent some time talking to some people really in the know, really on this industry. I spoke with Kristin Bernert, Senior VP of Business Operations for the New York Knicks and Madison Square Garden. And I also spoke with Arda Öcal, who will be hosting the event and providing all of the live stream commentary. And they both had some really interesting things to say about sports, then esports, and what to expect from the Newegg CLG Fortnite challenge. So we've got that video for you now. Let's cut to that and we can check it out. All right, so to set the stage a little bit, can you describe for our audience what you do with the Knicks and with Madison Square Garden?
First, it's actually the Knicks and the Rangers, our NHL team here. And with CLG and also with the Westchester Knicks, which is our G League team, and then Knicks Gaming, which is our NBA 2K team. So basically, my responsibility is everything that you don't see on the court or on the ice. For the most part, I work with our marketing teams and our ticket sales teams and our basically our entire group that's dedicated to making sure that we deliver a superior customer experience. So my job is basically just to ensure that we're aligned and everybody's on strategy, on point, and executing at a high level.
And so while you have sort of, I'm sure, separate divisions, you were saying you have some separation between I guess I want to use a word like traditional athletes in that range. But what are some of the bigger overlaps that you're starting to see while you're handling some of these two different worlds?
That's a great question. So, it's been fascinating. I've recently just gotten involved with esports over the last year. My first entry was with Knicks Gaming when we launched the NBA 2K team, and for me that was really easy. I gotta say, just because I'm very familiar with basketball, so I was like, we got to draft a point guard, we have to draft a shooting guard. It's right. I understood the statistics, I understood all of it, and so from a player perspective, and just understanding the competitive landscape, that one was easier. And then got to know more about CLG, Counter Logic Gaming, and for me the big takeaways are that sports are sports, and these are competitors who are competing at the highest level and the best in the world at what they do. And then the second piece of it is all about how do we deliver a product to fans that fans want, and how do we entertain them and get them engaged at a different level. And so far, esports is still pretty new when it comes to building a fan base. They've done it really, really well and are really smart. And there's actually a lot of things that traditional sports can learn from esports. But then it's kind of, most of it's been digital. Like, how do you round out that package so that you're engaging in multiple touch points?
Well, and that leads me, and thank you for a perfect segue there. For folks in the know and the fans that have been following the business side, the business developments between these, that Madison Square Garden owning CLG Gaming, why was esports a priority for Madison Square Garden now? What was it about the climate today that they felt like this was the right time to make that move?
Well, you know, this is I think it is in 2015 we hosted the North American League of Legends Championship Series here at the Garden. And I remember, I didn't go to the event, but I remember coming back that Monday, and everybody that went to the event, I was out of town that weekend, they were completely blown away. So the place is completely sold out, and the fans were going nuts the entire time. And so I think at that point, you know, kind of seeded for us of, you know, where is this headed, and really started to do a lot more research on esports in general, and League of Legends being the, you know, kind of the premier game from a competitive standpoint, and saw the opportunity. You know, we have original franchises in the Knicks and the Rangers, so why not now esports? So, you know, we have an original franchise with League of Legends, with Riot Games when they announced that they were going to franchise. We did the same thing when the NBA came to us and said, hey, you know, you want to be a part of NBA 2K? And the answer is, of course, you want to be on the ground level and want to be able to tout, you know, 60 years from now, call it, that we're an original franchise.
And with NHL and NBA, those fan bases seem to be growing together pretty organically.
They really are, and you know, it's interesting too to kind of think about, you know, I think about participation in different ways. So, you know, when I grew up, and maybe when you grew up, I don't know how old you are, but
I'm old enough, but thank you.
When I grew up, you know, participation meant that you played basketball, you know, and so I talk about the NBA, you play hockey, and you know, I think the participation is being defined in different ways now. You know, I look at my nephews, and they play basketball, but one of them doesn't, and he just games, and he plays NBA 2K all the time, and he wasn't really into, you know, he really wasn't into the NBA before he started playing that, and then all of a sudden he had a lot of opinions. Like, wow, hey, wait a minute. And so, you know, just I think that fandom comes in many different ways, and you know, participation is one. Whether you're, you know, it's a traditional way of participating, or it's you're gaming and you're getting to know our sport in that way. And it's a great way, by the way, to engage a younger audience.
Well, and making that conversation more accessible.
Absolutely, it's on their terms. So it's you know, this is the way the world's going. If ever, you know, you can fight it all you want and talk about.
Well, back in my day.
Yeah, it just is. You know, the last game I actually played Miss Pac-Man over the weekend, and I was like, oh, you still got it.
I just did a showdown with my mom on one of the new Tetrises. You know, like we played this game when it was invented, and now we're still coming back. Yeah.
It's a pretty awesome game. Like, it's a classic game. So, you know, it's here, and it's the way the world's going. You know, they're always going to have participatory sports in a traditional way, but with the ability also just to, you know, it's also you learn by watching kids so often, and just seeing how they interact with their friends playing Fortnite.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it's a big deal. It's a social thing too. It's not just, hey, you know, I'm going to go sit downstairs in my basement and play alone. No, they're actually interacting and competing together, which I love. You know, I think it's good all the way around.
Now, because you had mentioned earlier that this is a fairly new phenomenon. I mean, obviously this has been growing from a video gaming player base over many, many years, but the spectacle of it today is pretty fresh for a lot of consumers. What do you think a company like Madison Square Garden can bring to esports in terms of this presentation, and then maybe also in terms of the organization of how these events are being managed and shared?
Well, you know, we do events for a living. You know, this is
right.
This is, you know, we're fortunate enough to you know, have the world's most famous arena in MSG and along with other venues. But it's really the people that are the magic behind the Madison Square Garden. And you have, you know, some of the best event producers in the world. We know how to put on a show and how to make fans feel really engaged and a part of what they're doing. You know, with the Knicks, you know, we didn't have a great season on the court, but tell you, the last 2 games of the season, we sold out both games.
Right.
So this is what we do. We know how to entertain. We know how to get people engaged and how to build a fan base. So I think we bring that history, decades of experience with a couple of different sports leagues, night in and night out shows coming in and out of Madison Square Garden and the other venues that we have, and including the LA Forum. It just is. This is about competition and entertainment. And when you think about competition and entertainment, I think we're one of the best in the world.
Now, because of that reputation, video games are often positioned as this thing for the kids. Are you starting to see some generational overlap, like parents coming with their kids, but then they're getting involved in this too?
It's so funny. It's, I refer to kids because as the people that I kind of watch play, but there's so many adults who play and game, and it's, obviously really hot, especially, kind of the 18 to 24 demographic and player. It's part of kind of what they do. I think it's a misnomer that this is just kids. There's a lot of there's a robust fan base. We just had our championships, the spring split championships in St. Louis, and to see that fan base too, like this has become a spectator sport. It's becoming more and more a spectator sport, and it's not kids who are going to buy those tickets, and if the kids are going, their parents are buying the tickets with them, but it's people going out. It's for a night out. It's true entertainment. We have our own viewing parties here. We're streaming on Twitch, and people are cheering along. It's a great mix of people who are coming out to those events. So you see a lot of parallels. Like I find myself probably being a little too competitive myself, cheering a little too hard.
I was going to say New York's a great town for that. They might not even get the vernacular of the game, but they know to root for the home team.
That's exactly it. Like we're homers all the way through. So if we're going to be, somebody's going to come out and watch CLG and they know they're part of Madison Square Garden, New York, they get behind. And by the way, it may be a little hard on us at times too.
Totally. Oh, again, I mean, New York fans. Exactly.
High expectations.
All right, I want to wrap up, and thank you for taking the time with us. I want to wrap up talking specifically Newegg CLG, the Fortnite challenge. If you can walk us through what this challenge is going to be about, and what should viewers be looking for? What should they expect when they tune in?
We have some professional Fortnite players with CLG who are coming in for a tournament, and Kevin Knox from the Knicks is going to be a part of it as well. We're going to make it a free and fun event for fans in New York to come out and meet our players, watch them compete, and also, by the way, let's see how good Kevin is.
Yeah, put him on the spot.
Put him on the spot. Like he's had a little. Our season ended, so hopefully he's brushing up on his skills before he comes in. But I think it's going to be fun for people to see it live. There's not a ton of events here in New York, and definitely in one of our venues to be able to come out and experience it as a fan. So we're looking forward to partnering with Newegg and collaborating on this event. Newegg is a new partner for us. We're so happy to have them on board, and I think this is going to be a really cool first time event that hopefully we build on and replicate in the future.
Absolutely, and we're really excited to be a part of this too. So it sounds like it's going to be a blast. It really sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate the time too. Looking forward to it on the 24th.
Awesome. All right, take care. Hey there, YouTube audience. I'm here with Arda Öcal, who's going to be the host and the broadcaster for next week's Newegg CLG Fortnite Challenge. Welcome to the Newegg channel, Mr. Öcal.
Thanks for having me. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going good. I mean, here at Newegg, we're getting really excited. We're getting really pumped up about what's happening. But we wanted to take a little time to talk to you, just your experiences with esports and traditional athletic broadcasting, and
Sure.
hopefully you could kind of chime in on some of the trends that you've been seeing on your end.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, I've been involved with esports for a few years now. Before that, traditional broadcasting, still do sports with MSG Networks. Happy to be working at the Garden for another time here at Hulu Theater with the CLG. The Fortnite's going to be a great event, and there's going to be some great players. And personally, I can't wait. I've done a few Fortnite events in the past, and I'm really looking forward to this one as well.
Well, and so you have a pretty unique background. I mean, esports are still pretty fresh. You've got experience with the Knicks and with CLG.
I do.
Can you tell us, I mean, from your perspective, tell us about your history with traditional sports and esports, like how you came into being a broadcaster.
Yeah, so I basically got into broadcasting the way that anybody really gets into broadcasting. I got a degree in mathematics, and it just sort of happened for me. In all seriousness, though, I got a degree. I thought I would just have a desk job for the rest of my life. I was a project manager for a while, and nights and weekends, I just, instead of going out and partying with my friends, I went to a local public access 24-hour cable channel, and I just learned everything that I could. How does the audio department work? How does a camera person operate a camera? How do hosts prepare for their shows? So I just went from department to department, and I learned everything I could. And a few years after volunteering there at the station, you know, running tapes or chords or field producing or whatever odd job there was for each show, there were open auditions, and I did it, and they liked what they saw, and they said, okay, we have a show available that'll pay you. I think it was like $15 a show, but I really didn't care because it was my first gig, right? I didn't care at the time. So they said, would you be willing to do this? It's like Sunday at 2 a.m. in the morning. And I said, no problem. And so that's basically how it started. From there, I caught the bug, and I thought, you know what, maybe I should make a go of this. And so I ended up leaving the project management job to pursue broadcasting full time.
Nice. I mean, I kind of share a little of that. Like, well, I've got to hit the college radio station at 3 a.m. to do bumpers for news broadcasts on the college website. And it's just, it seems to be a very common theme for those of us that are now in sort of mixed media. From that broadcaster perspective, what would you say are some of the bigger differences between covering traditional sports versus this new wave of esports and online competition?
Yeah, there are a lot of differences. There's definitely a cadence difference. There's definitely a presentation difference as well. I think the chat is one of the biggest components, the biggest differences between how esports is presented and how traditional sports is presented. In esports, the chat is very important. You find the casters commonly referring to the chat, mentioning the chat, interacting with the chat as well. So you get a lot of that real-time integration, which I think is a great thing. I think that sort of real-time engagement definitely helps the broadcast and definitely adds a layer that we really haven't seen in the past at this kind of level. I'm seeing a lot less broadcasts, especially with esports, where you don't really have necessarily, you still have sort of defined roles, but they're not as defined as they would be on a sports broadcast.
Right.
In sports, you have a defined play-by-play person, you have defined color analysts, you have a defined anchor on the desk and defined analysts, right? There are definitely those roles. And those roles exist in esports, but honestly, especially during shoutcasting, during gameplay, it's more of a conversation among friends that you would have at a restaurant as opposed to defined roles.
Now, I'm sure you've run into some of this, those of us who've been fans and following these trends over time, you know, someone who's a naysayer. Someone who might be more into traditional athletics or traditional competitions. You know, when a basketball or a hockey fan comes up to you and says, why would you want to watch someone playing a video game? What kind of interaction, have you had interactions like that? And then what have you done in those conversations?
I will say those conversations are happening a lot less because I really feel like esports is here. I think it's not esports is coming, esports has already arrived. And I feel like you can see that with the investments that are being made in esports and gaming, with the brands that are coming into esports and gaming, with the celebrities, the names, the viewership across different titles. Look at the way that Fortnite is emerging. I mean, even this year, Fortnite putting $100 million of prize money with, how much is it, $20 or $30 million at the Fortnite World Cup coming to New York City later this summer. I mean, these are fantastic numbers. for esports events. And it's not just Fortnite. We're seeing, very large prize pools happening all around esports.
I feel like we can point to a game like Fortnite, and however you want to break it, it's one of the, if not the biggest competitive games that's out right now. What do you think it is about that title that seems to get players and viewers so worked up?
I think it's very imaginative. I think that, Fortnite is not the first battle royale game to exist, right? H1Z1, PUBG are examples of games that really blazed the trail regarding battle royale format. But Fortnite really took it to another level. And I think that where Fortnite is succeeding in particular is the community aspect. I think that beyond being simply a video game, it's a community for people to interact. I mean, look no further than the Marshmello concert, right? Marshmello playing in the game for 15 minutes, and how many people were watching that simultaneously? Was it 10 million? Something around that number. An extremely impressive number watching this 15-minute concert. And when I saw that, I thought, this is not going to be the end of that. We're going to see more of this. We're going to see more celebrities, comedians, musicians, whatever the case may be. They're going to be performing in Fortnite. That's almost going to be a stop on the circuit, right? It's going to be a stop on the world tour to play in Fortnite. So that's coming for sure, and that just goes to how Fortnite is really becoming the social media for gamers in a way. Just that idea of being in a community, play Fortnite in a tournament one weekend, and here's this concert the next weekend, and here's this stand-up comedy set another weekend, maybe an exclusive movie the weekend after that, another tournament the weekend after that. I mean, it could be a whole year's worth of programming inside that game,
right?
And that's very exciting for people that love the game.
Yeah, you spend so much time watching the players, analyzing the business that goes behind the scenes. When it becomes part of your job, I mean, you still find the time to play yourself. You're still able to use this as a leisure activity while it's also your job.
I'll be honest, especially with certain titles, Fortnite, Smash Brothers, I enjoy watching the best players play it as opposed to playing it myself. I'm not that good. I will fully admit that I am not great at FPS. I'm just not. I'm not good at, I've never been good at FPS. The only FPS I've really been good at is Doom, and that's because they had the BFG 9000, and that destroyed everybody in sight. So if I have a weapon like that, no problem. But as it pertains to Fortnite, I'm terrible. So I love to watch people who are really good at it play, and of course the strategies that go into it, getting the high ground, building high, 90 degrees, 180 degrees, pyramid peaks. That all interests me, and how that goes specifically into competition, which we'll see at the event next week at Hulu Theater. How people will adapt their play styles to the type of players that are playing, and how they execute their game plans. Watching Fortnite at the top level is very interesting to me.
To pivot just a little bit, especially with your experiences watching, we're still creating new language. I want to say traditional athletics or traditional sports. What are some things from that arena, from hockey or from like football or baseball? What do you think esports could learn from the lessons that we've already seen in more traditional sports?
It's funny. I think that traditional sports, or at least executives in those realms, are learning more from what esports is doing, really. I mean, there's always this conversation about, does esports need linear television? Do we need to have esports competitions on, over-the-air cable channels, things like that?
Or could it even work? Like not having the same interactive element, right?
Yeah, exactly. And to me, I think it's more, I think esports will exist and succeed no matter where it is. People are finding it online. People are finding the streams they want to watch, whether they're watching their favorite streamers or watching their favorite esports competitions. Esports fans are finding the content that they want. And so that's one thing, making it as accessible as possible. We're definitely seeing that in traditional sports as well. The presentation, I really feel in the next 5 to 10 years, it's going to be fascinating to see how the presentation changes. Will there be multiple streams? That's a question that I certainly have. How many different commentary teams or types of presentations? We see this with, with the college football championships. There were multiple options, right? You can go in the coach's room, you can go in the fun cast, you can go on the sidelines. I think that we're going to see more of that across not just sports, but esports as well. We're going to be able to choose how we consume the actual presentation, which I think is very exciting.
Now, because esports, this conversation is so fresh for so many consumers, not necessarily people who are really hip to the business behind. How do you see the conversation evolving on player health?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think that people are still learning that along the way. What I have noticed is a lot of teams professionally at the top levels have integrated this kind of physical and mental health components for their players. So we're seeing nutrition coaches, personal trainers, therapists being part of the homes now. If these teams are in homes where they're training, these employees are now there at their disposal. So they're, learning and applying, eating correctly, and getting the proper physical therapy that they need, the proper exercise that they need. But it's not only that, there are mental coaches as well, whether it's preparation for tournaments or therapy, mental therapy.
I would say recovery, because you need some downtime after a pretty rough run.
Absolutely. I mean, that's another thing we just don't know right now is we don't know the science behind how much recovery is needed from looking at a screen for upwards of 10 to 12 hours a day and using your fingers in a certain way, whether you're holding a console controller or playing with a mouse and keyboard. So these are things that we're definitely going to be keeping an eye on as an industry for years to come.
All right, I want to pivot back because we're really excited here, like I said, here at Newegg. What are you hoping to see from the Newegg CLG Fortnite challenge? Like, what would be sort of your wish list of highlights?
Well, I heard that Kevin Knox from the New York Knicks is going to be there. I would love to see him absolutely just destroy. Just take everything, win suddenly, and then at the end he announces that not only is he playing for the Knicks, but he's also joining CLG as a member of the Fortnite team. I think that would be great. Who would ever see that come?
I was going to say,
in all seriousness, I'm looking forward to a good event. I think that we're going to see some great high-level gameplay. But I'm also looking forward to seeing how the fans, like so the people that will qualify or be able to play our CLG pros, how they're going to fare and understand just what the level of competition is that the CLG players are playing at versus the common Fortnite player. We've got some great players on the CLG Fortnite squad, so I'm sure that they're going to be holding their own just fine. But I always love seeing when there's somebody who's a Fortnite fan that happens to either be an athlete or a celebrity. I always love seeing how they do in these kind of events. So I'll definitely be having my eyes there as well. I'm just really excited to be hosting and casting it, to be honest.
Fantastic. Well, we're excited for you to be a part of it. So I can't wait to meet back up with you and catch the show on the 24th.
Yeah, it'll be very exciting, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. Hey, welcome back. We're live again.
Hey.
Just having a lot of fun in the chat right now. A whole conversation about whether or not I should do the show sporting a mullet.
Ooh.
So that was a lot of fun, but my wife literally jumped into the live chat to say no mullet, so we can't do that. But some great comments just back and forth, people talking about gamer burnout. You know? So like top esports players at the top of their game and sort of the pressure that we put on them is something that we're only just now starting to get our feet. We're only just now starting to take a look at this industry and this sport. Yeah. You've got people operating at like a chess grandmaster level, but they've got to practice and they've got to stream and they've got multiple matches that they have to do. Some pretty heady stuff.
Yeah, I've also heard that as you get older, your hand-eye coordination and your speedy reflexes start to deteriorate a little bit. So, if we want to say that's why we're not as great as we used to be, I guess, we can lean on that.
That's totally why I'm not a top esport competitor.
I'm still mad good at Paperboy on the NES. So yes, thanks again to Kristin and Arda for chatting with Juan about sports, esports, and the Newegg CLG Fortnite Challenge.
Absolutely. So I really wanted to ask you this because we weren't in studio at the same time for this. The difference, I really struggled in this conversation with people that live in both arenas, like the tradition. That's what I had to default to is traditional sports.
Traditional sports
versus e-sports, and I feel like I'm an old guy on a business cable news show.
To me, the opposite of if E is electronic is physical sports, but not to say that you're not physical or moving physical parts of your body when you're doing esports. And then would you consider chess a physical sport, or do you say athletic sports? I don't know.
Or competitions, and you want to say competitor.
Yeah, you're a competitor,
you can break down some of the language there, but then when you talk about the industry as a whole and you want to make that division, and you don't want to just always make it the thing what the kids do on the Fortnites, like, because this is so much more legitimate than what I think a lot of consumers expect. Kids playing video games, like this is competition at a completely different tier, at a completely different level, and I struggled with that. I didn't have the language. Like, it's still fresh enough that I didn't have a good way to make that delineation.
I would love to hear in chat what you guys think
please.
That should be called, because you're right. I guess traditional sports is kind of the default, but does that feel weird? I don't know.
It feels a little weird to me. So,
feels a little weird.
Fortnite's challenge, let's try that again. That Fortnite challenge event sounds exciting.
It does.
I'm really looking forward to it. Counter Logic Gaming playing Fortnite with one of the New York Knicks. I think you're going to want to check that out. So we should jump in. We can give everyone the details on how that's going to go down.
Perfect. So go to newegg.com/CLG right now to enter the Newegg CLG sweepstakes, featuring over $3,000 in prizes.
Nice.
And that same URL, newegg.com/CLG, is where you'll be able to watch the event next week on Wednesday, April 24th, starting at 4 p.m. Pacific time. So you'll see the CLG pros and Kevin Knox of the Knicks, and they'll all be playing Fortnite with and against one another.
Yeah.
The event will feature great hardware from sponsors like Intel, Asus, and HP, and it should be a ton of fun, like even if you don't normally watch Fortnite.
Oh, yeah. I am definitely a Fortnite scrub out. Like, could not get into it. Tried on phones, tried on PCs.
Okay.
That's not for, but I like watching other people play at a pretty high tier. It was part of that why I liked having that conversation with Arda, because he was also like, I don't really do this as much for entertainment because I like watching people who are really good.
That's true.
Point to
I
that.
like
You're
watching anyone that is a super, super high tier player at that specific game. There's value in that.
And it draws out like exactly what I love about competition. So one of the themes of that Fortnite challenge is going to be the advantages of PC gaming, because Kevin Knox loves Fortnite and plays it on a console. And of course, the CLG pros are PC gamers, and they're gonna be setting Kevin up with a controller on a PC, showing him how the game plays on a top-of-the-line system with top-tier players. And who knows? Maybe it'll convert him. It can be tough to go back to a console after seeing how your favorite game plays on a PC. Maybe?
Yeah, I mean, like I've said before, I am very biased, and I feel like many of us here at the Newegg audience certainly are. Many of you out there watching have probably experienced that same sort of thing, where maybe your friends are console gamers and you're the one that's always evangelizing PC gaming.
For sure.
Or maybe you have a vague idea that PC gaming has advantages, but if you had to sit down and list those advantages out, it might be a little tricky. So don't worry, we are here to help. In fact, I made a whole video about it. And while you're watching that video, remember that we have a team here watching the chat, so let us know, why do you think that the PC is the best gaming platform? Let us know in the comments. So here's what we came up with. Let's check it out.
Hey everyone! We truly are in the golden age of gaming. Between PCs, consoles, handheld devices, and smartphones, there are more ways than ever to play. But if you want the latest and greatest AAA titles, you really only have two options: consoles or PC. We're fans of consoles around here, of course. Games like Breath of the Wild, Spider-Man, God of War, and Red Dead Redemption are some of our favorite games. But it should come as no surprise that we're pretty big into PCs too. I mean, we are Newegg. I started out as a console gamer myself. The original NES was my first system, and my parents insisted that they had no reason to buy me a new console unless I beat all my Nintendo games. Those games are hard, Mom and Dad. Have you ever tried Battletoads or Contra? Anyway, I then discovered PC games like King's Quest, Zork, and Monkey Island, and I never turned back. And I tell you all this to say that there's absolutely nothing wrong with playing games on a console. And we know that many Newegg fans out there enjoy multiple gaming platforms. But when you want the best all-around gaming experiences, we're convinced PC is where it's at. In this video, we'll go over some of the best reasons to game on a PC. And if you're already a PC convert, this video might just be what you need to convince your friends and family to make the switch. Let's get started with one of the most clear advantages: keyboard and mouse control. Using a keyboard for gaming can be a challenge at first, especially when compared to a controller. All those buttons. But once you get used to it, it becomes clear just how much better it can be, especially for certain genres. For games that require lots of actions per minute, like MOBAs, real-time strategy games, or MMOs, having access to all those mappable keys at once isn't just more convenient, it's critical to success. WASD for the win. Even more useful for gaming is the mouse. Dual sticks on a controller are fine for most games, but they don't hold a candle to the accuracy or quick movement of a mouse. There's a reason all competitive first-person shooters are best played with a keyboard and mouse, because it's the most precise way to play. Especially when it comes to first-person shooters, a mouse and keyboard combo is unbeatable. But not everyone cares about precision or high-level play. We get that. Some people prefer a controller because it's what they're used to and what they grew up using. Sometimes you just want to plop down on the couch, pick up a controller, and play a few rounds of Overwatch on Xbox without worrying about KD ratios or Grandmaster status. Totally fair. But here's the thing, you can use a controller on a PC too. Almost any modern controller can be used with a PC, and almost every new game will automatically switch to controller input as soon as it's plugged in. No customization or tweaking necessary. Want to use an Xbox controller for third-person games like Assassin's Creed and a mouse and keyboard for Apex Legends? No problem. Switching is as easy as putting one down and picking up the other. This dual functionality is a great example of PC gaming being the best of both worlds. You can also take advantage of bleeding-edge input options like eye tracking or other alternative controllers, which you won't see on consoles for a very long time. And speaking of cutting edge, let's talk displays. While consoles are finally getting to the point where they can output 4K, PC has been in this space for years now thanks to high-end GPUs. And beyond higher resolutions, you're also looking at superior frame rates, 60 frames per second or higher, and that means substantially smoother gameplay. Consoles can put out content at 1920 by 1080 or 4K if you have the PlayStation Pro or Xbox One X. But with a PC, there's a ton of other resolutions that you can choose from as well. PC monitors have specialized options like curved displays and a huge selection of resolutions and aspect ratios like 2560 by 1440 or super wide screen like 3840 by 1080, just to name a few. If that wasn't enough, there's also additional display tech like FreeSync and G-Sync, which improve your gaming experience. And we haven't even talked about higher refresh rates yet. The average television has a refresh rate of around 60 Hz, meaning the image is redrawn on screen 60 times per second. Compare that to 144 Hz, which is quickly becoming the standard on gaming monitors, with some going up to 240 Hz, or even higher. Higher refresh rates mean smoother gameplay, and once you've gotten used to it, there's no going back. All of that is to say that PC games just look and play significantly better than their console counterparts, especially on a monitor designed for gaming. But maybe you're happy with your TV and aren't interested in investing in a high-end gaming display. Maybe you do most of your gaming in your living room and want to use that huge television for movies and streaming video, not just gaming. The good news is that it's super easy to connect your PC into your living room TV, just as easy as a console. Modern PCs come in all shapes and sizes, and small form-factor gaming machines like the MSI Trident X or the Zotac Mech 1 are roughly the size of modern consoles. Plug one of these tiny machines into your living room TV, hook up your controller of choice, and you get the same experience you would with a console, only better in just about every way. Not only will your games still look nicer and play better due to the extra power from the superior gaming hardware, you'll also be able to use your PC for everything else, like email, movies, and whatever else you need, all from the comfort of your living room couch. We've talked a lot about the advantages of superior PC hardware, and we could say more, but we haven't even touched on the advantages of customizing your games. One of the coolest things about PC gaming is the fact that you can customize how your game looks and plays. You can adjust the graphics settings to prioritize resolution or frame rate. You can adjust field of view, VSync, texture settings, and plenty more. With a console, you may have access to some small settings tweaks, but it's nothing like the options you'll find on the PC version. PC games are designed to be tinkered with, to be tweaked until you get the exact experience you want. And while we're on the subject of customization, let's talk about mods. Mods are user-generated software packages that can dramatically change your game of choice. They can range from simple tweaks like new weapons, missions, or characters, but can also be ambitious bug fixes or radical reworks of games that can change the experience completely. Everything from replacing Mr. X in Resident Evil 2 with Thomas the Tank Engine, to entire user-generated expansions like Fallout New California. Some mods are purely cosmetic or purposefully silly, but there are plenty that provide hours of new quality content for your favorite games, and some that can even update older titles for modern audiences. Consoles are just now starting to embrace mods, and even then, what's available is strictly controlled. On PC, the mod community has been around for decades and continues to grow. And here's another advantage of PC games: backwards compatibility. With a little tinkering, even a 20-year-old PC game will run on a modern operating system, and with mod support, could be a better experience than it was when it first released. With a console, you'll have to either buy an old game again if they've bothered to release a digital version, or hope your old disc is backwards compatible. With a PC, you're looking at backwards compatibility for just about everything, and an ever-growing library of games alongside new PC exclusives. And keep in mind, with a console, all you can do is game and stream video. With a PC, you can do anything from creating your own games or streaming to writing an email for work and everything in between. That's in addition to having the best gaming experience available. Whew, that was a lot, and we could keep going. The point is, pretty much anything a console can do, a PC can do better and then some. Once you experience your favorite game in 4K at 60 frames per second on a high refresh rate display with a gaming mouse and keyboard, there's really no going back. Again, we love consoles around here, but when it comes to the best way to experience a game, there's no question. PC is going to be better. Trust us, it pays to play on the cutting edge. So what do you guys think? What was the game that convinced you to migrate to PC? If you're still not convinced, what are some reasons you're sticking with consoles? We'd love to hear from you.
All right, everybody, welcome back. You just heard me talking all about PC gaming and the advantages of things like mice, keyboards, and gaming displays. There are a lot to choose from, obviously, and that's part of the fun of PC gaming. You can choose exactly the setup that works for you. And right now, we have Juan set up right over here with some great examples of PC gaming tech.
Yes, we do. I'll play Vanna for this one.
I love it. Perfect.
I'm having a lot of fun with this
So one of my favorite products that you have over there, Juan, is the Logitech G502 gaming mouse.
Over here?
Yes, just there. If you could hold it up so everybody can see how beauteous it is. This is one of the most popular gaming mice. It's also kind of a weird one. It was on my video that I did of weirdest gaming mice. It's got a metal scroll wheel that you can toggle between regular scroll and infinite scroll, and it feels so satisfyingly good to use. It's up to 16,000 DPI. It's got an adjustable weight system, so there's 5 removable 3.6 gram weights inside the mouse for personalized weight and balance tuning, so it's really all about customization. It's RGB, of course, and like having this level of control between the DPI adjustment, the weight adjustment, really allows for precise tuning that can have a real impact on your gaming, and that no console controller can compete with that. So well, yeah, I love that mouse.
It's totally silly that you brought it up because I haven't gotten to play with it for very long.
Okay.
The scroll wheel. That
so good.
Scroll wheel is insane.
So good.
So yeah, I'll put that guy back down.
So good.
I think we're gonna move over to this really schwank keyboard.
Yes, I don't know if you've had a chance to play with that keyboard yet either, but this was in our keyboard showdown as well. This is the Corsair K95 RGB Platinum flagship keyboard. Oh, beautiful, beautiful showing.
I'm totally doing the game and winning the day.
Real nice. It's got 8 megabytes of onboard profile storage, per key RGB backlighting, Cherry MX Speed RGB switches with fast 1.2 millimeter actuation, 6 programmable macro keys, USB pass-through, detachable dual-sided wrist rest. It comes with a free copy of The Division 2 right now, heyo. And as I said in our keyboard showdown video and in the PC video, once you go keyboard, it's hard to go back. Like, having access to all those different mappable keys makes a huge difference for games like MMOs, RTS, or MOBAs, and the ability to choose your favorite switches is a total game changer.
Well, that was the controversy in the YouTube chat.
Yeah.
Was like, it's tough to say, like, this could be the best mouse because what are you playing?
Oh,
and you
100%.
really do want different hardware for different styles of gameplay.
Yeah.
So, now, this one's a bit more up my alley because we're talking something pretty for your ears. I'm a real big fan of the ear candy, and this is the Logitech.
Juan has pretty ears. That's what he said, I think. That's what I
I mean,
heard.
that's what I heard.
Continue on, sir.
The Logitech G935 headset, 50 millimeter Pro G drivers, 2.4 gig wireless.
Yeah.
And again, that direct wireless connection as opposed to using something like Bluetooth. You don't want any audio lag. 3G keys, so basically macro keys for your headset.
Cool.
And so you can control lighting and the various audio presets, which is critical because this is also DTS Headphone X 2.0. So you can really get a precision 3D soundscape. It's something that's, obviously we've been playing with that a lot in audio gear for a while, but it's just getting more and more refined, having a good three-dimensional soundscape. Seriously high-end, feature-rich, great gaming headset.
Nice.
Having a lot of fun with that.
Nice.
Good,
and
good.
Let's see what else we have right here.
The Stealth?
Juan has been using the MSI GS75 Stealth 203.
It's really pretty.
It is really pretty. It's a 17.3-inch, 144 hertz IPS display. Absolutely gorgeous. And 144 hertz isn't something you're going to find console supporting right now. It's relatively new to laptops as well. So pair that with the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2070 and you're looking at some seriously smooth gaming no matter which title you're playing. It's got an Intel i7 8th Gen 8750H CPU, 16 gigabytes of RAM, 256 gigabytes of NVMe SSD. It's not as heavy as one would think for something this size.
It's really
under
not.
5 pounds. It's less than an inch thick. And it really does have a beautiful chassis and a really nice trackpad. It's this fancy glass touchpad that is very wide and feels really nice to use.
We had MSI on the end of last year to talk about some of their new design refreshes. And this is a direction I'm really excited to see MSI go, is getting away from... We have this as one of our few disagreements in design and aesthetics where I'm not the biggest fan of the aggressive or what I call Mountain Dew fueled.
Oh, you like it a little sleeker.
I like it a little sleeker.
Yeah.
So this is more up my alley from MSI, seeing them kind of clean up the lines on that, where when you're facing it, there's still a little edge. There's still a little gamer influence.
Yeah, well, you have a full RGB keyboard.
Yeah, I mean, so you can't get away from that. But then from the exterior, it looks a little bit more business pro.
Yeah.
Just, we know it's a little different.
I like this laptop a lot. I think it's a really nice
it's
one.
real clean. And then I'm excited, again, because I'm an audio nerd, but we're going to talk about something for your eyes. This is the Aorus AD27QD gaming monitor. So this is the first Aorus branded gaming monitor, 2560 by 1440, so that quad HD, 1 millisecond response time, 144 hertz, HDR 400, FreeSync and G-Sync compatible, no power brick. It's all sort of built into the chassis of the frame and the monitor. So it's a little heavier, but it's also less cluttered when you're trying to work out your cable strategy. Super high build quality and all of these features that we're starting to expect. It's really hard to go from a high refresh rate gaming monitor and then go back to a traditional 60 hertz 1080p display.
Yes.
So a great example of what you can do in the PC gaming space, but we're gonna have the folks from Gigabyte and Aorus to talk a little bit more about some of the advanced feature set, because I got to play with this a while at CES, and they're doing some really great work on noise reduction for your game chat.
Yep.
So noise reduction typically has that, like, it's good for droning sounds, but not good for sudden impact.
Right.
You know, your headphones will block the airplane engines, but not the baby crying behind you.
Right.
The immediate reduction of key clack from this noise reduction for your game chat, not for what you hear, but for what you send, is surprisingly good.
So you can still have your clackety keyboard
Clackety
without
keyboard.
annoying everybody.
And because you have your mic, if you're streaming or
Right.
if you're in some sort of TeamSpeak,
Yeah.
your mic is right over your keyboard. I was very surprised by how well that worked. And then some really funky psychological tricks to the way they manage the frame rate, so that your gaming actually gets a little smoother. You don't overcorrect when you're really twitchy in certain types of games. Some really fascinating stuff. We're gonna have them on to talk about that, so I'm excited about that.
And this is a brand new monitor, right?
Totally brand new. I mean,
Yep.
they're selling like hotcakes, and like this is something I think that's a little special.
love it.
I'm really excited what they're doing here.
I can't wait to get more hands-on with that. Okay, so one more time, if you want to check out any of those products that we just talked about, head on over to Newegg.com/Newegg Now, or check out the links in the description for this video, depending where you're watching.
Welcome back. I'm back.
Yay!
Okay, we're coming to the end of the show today, but before we sign off, we wanted to let you know about some of the deals currently live right now on Newegg.com. You can find all of these by clicking the banner on the bottom of that Newegg Now page. And Trish and I had a chance to go through and pick out some of the stuff that we were interested in.
We did.
Yeah, so we can talk directly about that kind of stuff. So what do we want to start with? Let me get the page up.
Let's see. Yeah, let's see if we can pull it up so that you guys can see.
Oh, okay. So we're going to start with one of mine. This was one of my top picks.
Okay.
Again, sexy new gaming laptops, things with a slightly more refined edge to them. The Asus ROG Zephyrus S. One of the most powerful and one of the most unusual gaming laptops around. So again, a 15.6-inch display, 144 hertz, 3 millisecond response time, a GTX 1070 with 8 gigabytes of RAM, and a really nice proprietary cooling solution that pops open when you open the laptop. So a lot of consideration for keeping your thermals in check. We kind of know how thermals go when you build an ultra sleek laptop.
Oh, baby, yes
with
we do.
Lots of heat generating components. And so we also have the Zephyrus M on sale as well. If you're looking for a G-Sync display, $250 off. Good time to start shopping some portable gear.
Awesome. What else did you like?
I also liked, so gaming laptops have come a long way. For sure. I mean, we're getting to play with some really cool tech. But we still love desktops. And this is one, again, I got to go hang out with the folks at Corsair at CES and got to see the refresh on this. If you're looking pre-built and you want to get something with a really fresh design, Corsair One, their compact gaming PC, i9, 9th gen, 9900K, 32 gigabytes of RAM, RTX 2080 Ti.
All the stuffs.
All in a really sleek, vertically venting chassis.
Wow.
Again, there's another manufacturer that flirted with a pro machine that did stuff like this.
Yeah.
And I think Corsair looked at that, learned some important lessons. The way this thing splays out, if you want to do any upgrades or if you need to like swap out components, is so smart. And so the second I saw that, I'm like, this is another refresh. It's a generational refresh for their One series. Corsair has done something phenomenal here in terms of design. I absolutely love it. And my last deal. Okay. This is again, I just made the switch from Intel to AMD.
Okay.
And if you want to build your own desktop and you really want to go lots of cool processing cores, we've got you covered with one of the most powerful AMD CPUs around. This is the 2nd gen Ryzen Threadripper 2950X. This is a 16-core, 32-thread CPU, just absolute monster piece of silicon. It's unlocked if you want to overclock it. I'm currently running the 2970 in my workstation at home, and it's a monster.
It's a beast.
And so, especially if you're really following like the AMD trends, there are some structural and thermal advantages if you're looking at the 2950 versus the 2970. So the fact that you can pick up the 2950 for less than $840 is pretty trick. If you're looking at an all-rounder system, I do video editing and gaming, and I need one box for both. So this was a very nice upgrade for my workflow.
Woohoo! And so some of the deals that I picked out, one of the best PC genres is strategy game, in my humble opinion. And one of the best examples of that genre is Civilization. So when I saw Civ 6 on the on sale, it's the online game code, not the physical, but still, it is $17.99 for the base game. Hundreds of hours of replay value. These are the type of games that I can fire up and be like, oh, you know, I'm just going to play for a little bit. And the next thing I know, I've spent the entire night gaming. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning and I forgot to go to bed because you just play a little bit more. Do you play simulation games like that?
I haven't played a Civ for a while. I can't remember the last one I jumped in on. But again, for me, it's one of those zone games.
Oh, you definitely get in the zone.
You hit a flow and you start managing, and then like time just melts. And that to me is a beautiful experience. Like lately, I've been doing that with Tetris. But again, like a real good simulation game has that way of just sort of altering your entire perception of how you interact with reality.
Well, and it's really funny for me, at least, when I stream those games. Because you don't want it to be all cerebral and in your own head when you're streaming because you want there to be some kind of dialogue going on with your audience. So I just get this like very bizarre kind of stream of consciousness that flows out of me that I kind of go into a zone and don't even know what I'm saying.
That's hilarious.
I've been doing that a lot lately, streaming Frostpunk, which is amazing too. But yes, Civ 6 is on sale for less than $20, and the many expansions are also on sale there, so you can check those all out on the deal site. Also, another game that is on sale right now, the Batman Arkham games. There's a Batman triple pack featuring Arkham Asylum Game of the Year Edition, Arkham City Game of the Year Edition, and Arkham Origins. Tons of content here, and you get that entire triple pack for $17.49. They are Steam codes, so they're instant downloads, and these are some of the best superhero video games out there, in my opinion. Yeah, some really good stuff. So to get that for under $20, also, I was excited to see that on there. It's kind of funny how
the Batman movies kind of revived the superhero industry, and I feel like the Batman games kind of revived.
They're so good.
They're so good. They're great.
Yeah.
Great.
So let's flip it over from gaming to something entirely different. Something a little bit more practical, but still incredibly useful. I saw the Xerox Phaser 6510 on sale, and it's a laser printer, and I love laser printers because I live in Southern California, and when you get an inkjet printer, your ink dries out very quickly because it's very hot and dry here.
Yeah, that's true.
And speaking as someone who went from an inkjet to a laser printer years and years ago, what it saves you in ink costs is crazy. Plus, the quality's better, it's faster. There's so many different reasons to upgrade to a laser printer, and I think a lot of the reasons that people hold off is because of the price point. But this is $270 off. It's a huge savings on this. And I would even say if you're already someone who has a laser printer, but it's time to update your toner, toner can be very expensive to buy new toner cartridges. And sometimes when you find a hot deal like this, it's actually cheaper to just buy a new laser printer with the demo toner cartridges already in there than it is to replace the toner cartridges for the laser printer you already have.
I might resemble that comment because our laser printer is a couple years old, and I think we're still on the demo cartridge. Because we don't do a lot of printing.
Right, this is under $200
for
a brand new printer.
I unfortunately might be that target market that you just described.
Yes. So one more time, for all of these deals that we talked about, go to Newegg.com/Newegg Now and click the banner that you will find on the bottom of the page.
Okay, so that's going to do it for this episode of Newegg Now. Coming back. Thank you very much for watching. Again, another shout out to Kristin from Madison Square Garden, Arda for sharing those details about the Fortnite challenge coming up. Remember to visit Newegg.com/CLG to watch next week. And you can go there right now to enter the sweepstakes and then also shop for some sweet gaming gear.
Totally do it. So like, subscribe, follow, whatever platform you're on, do the thing. It could be YouTube, Twitch, Mixer, Periscope, whatever it is. Newegg Now will be back on May 16th, and we're going to be talking about building a budget gaming PC with some great new components that have come out in 2019, and maybe some that are still on the horizon. Perhaps, maybe, we'll see.
We'll have to see. And we have some great stuff coming out on YouTube between now and then, including an interview with Oris, where we'll talk more about the gaming monitor that I really like, that may or may not somehow magically make it to the trunk of my car today.
No way. If you get to do that, one gets to magically appear in the trunk of my car as well. Fair is fair, man. All right, we'll debate this off camera, but until next time, this has been Newegg Now, and now you know. Bye, guys.
Bam.